What's up? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be doing some hand analysis like normal. The hands that are going to be in this video are from a friend of mine. He's an author. His name is Edward Denton, and he is sponsoring this video. Basically, he wrote a book, and in this book, there's 100 live hand histories from his point of view with his thought process. I'm going to give you a couple of hands from the book, and I'm going to try my best to relay Edward's thought process. So let's get into it right now. All right, in this first hand, Edward is under the gun 1. He's playing approximately $400 stack, and we get dealt 8-7 of diamonds. The action folds to Edward, and we're going to raise it up here, make it $12, and middle position makes call for 12. He's playing approximately $300 to start the hand, and the button also makes call for 12, and very similar stack size, right around 300. And the blinds fold, so we're going to go off to this flop 3 ways. And the flop comes 9-6-4 with 2 hearts and a diamond. So we flop an open ender with a backdoor flush draw, obviously. And definitely going to start out with a bet here. So place a bet for $20. And middle position decides to raise. And he bumps it up to 40. So he hits us with the min raise. And pretty quickly the button gets out of the way. So it's back on us. I mean, this guy's laying us a hell of a price. 5-1 right here. And, you know, Edward mentions the fact that when players at these stakes are doing the min raise, most of the time, especially this guy, Edward expects him to have a really, really strong hand, and goes on to say that this guy probably has like 9s, 6s, or 4s. And that's pretty much the range that he's up against. Edward's pretty confident of this. So given the fact we're getting 5-1 and we got implied odds, Edward's going to make this call here, and we're going to go off to the turn, heads up, and the turn comes a king of spades. So we check it over to middle position, and middle position places another bet for $55. And once again, this is kind of like, you know, smallish bet. Like this is like, please call me kind of bet. So reinforces Edward's read that we are in fact up against a set. Even though the price isn't that great, we're only getting like 3-1-ish. He does mention the fact that if he makes his hand, he thinks that this guy is stacking off. So that being said, Edward decides to make the call, and we're going to go off to the river, heads up, and the river comes pretty interesting card. It is a 5 of hearts, so the front door flush does arrive, and we make our straight also. Edward's getting vibes like this guy's definitely going to bet again, so we check the action over to the guy in middle position. Pretty sure he's going to place a bet, and he obliges. He places a bet for $100, and that's about half of his remaining chips. Pretty quickly, Edward check raises and jams all in, and we cover. And the opponent in middle position kind of sighs a little bit and just takes a couple of seconds, and he just says, you know, I'll pay you off. And he makes the call all in, and we turn over our hand, show our straight, and it's good. The opponent mucks an unknown hand, but Edward is pretty certain that it was a set. So that being said, let me know what you think. Let's get into the next hand. This next hand is from 2-5 No Limit Hold'em. This is actually the first hand in Edward's session. He sits down and he is in the cutoff. He has $500 and he gets dealt 9-8 of hearts. And he does remark in his book about that this hand is pretty sexy. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what he said, but something along those lines. And I would agree with that. 9-8 suited in late position. That's pretty sexy. So middle position limps into the pot from about a $500 stack. And Edward describes this guy as kind of type passive. He's a recreational player. He normally plays 1-2, and he's over here in the 2-5 game. And I think it's fair to say he's probably shot taking. So that being said, definitely going to start up with a raise here. So we bump it up to $25, and the action folds to big blind. And the big blind makes a call, and he's playing about 400 to start the hand. And Edward describes this player as one of his best customers, that he calls way too much before the flop and way too much after the flop, and he plays too many hands. And the middle position calls as well. So we're going to go off to the flop 3 ways. And the flop comes 9-3-5 rainbow with 1 heart. Obviously, we flop top pair, and Edward notes that this is a pretty vulnerable spot to have top pair because there's a bunch of turn cards that we're not going to like, and it's not that great of a top pair. You know, it'll be 8 kicker, but both of our opponents check it over to us, and definitely going to start out with a bet here for value and protection. Place a bet for $35. And Edward does say that he'd be content just to take this pot down right here and avoid having, a bad turn card. However, that's just not going to happen because both our opponents call pretty much right away. So we're going off to the turn 3 ways. And the turn comes a 7 of hearts. So we actually improve to a flush draw / straight draw / 80% of a straight flush. So that's pretty cool. And we have a pair. Big blind checks. And Edward does mention that this guy in the big blind, usually if he pairs up, like especially top pair hands, even middle pair, he'll just lead right out. So Edward is pretty sure this guy doesn't have anything. He says that the big blind will make calls with just overcards. Like he's that loose with his calls. So middle position also checks. And Edward says that he's more worried about middle position having a better hand than him. And Edward decides to check back, but he says as soon as he tapped the table, he felt like it was wrong to check back, that maybe he should have bet again because he did actually improve and he picked up equity on the turn. But ultimately, he just decided to check back and pot control because he just didn't know for sure if he has a better hand than middle position. So that being said, we're going off to the river 3 ways. And the river comes out a 10 of diamonds, a big blind checks, and the guy in middle position places a bet for $75. And it's on Edward. And Edward says that he doesn't know if he has enough showdown value to call this guy. And he doesn't want to call. And like this guy has ace-9 or something like that, So Edward decides to turn his hand into a bluff here. And he's going to really put the pressure on this guy. He thinks this guy has a 1-pair hand. And he's going to try to make him fold a 1-pair hand. So he raises it up to $300. And the big blind pretty quickly folds. And now it's back on middle position. And this guy goes into the tank. And ultimately, middle position announces call verbally. And Edward just turns the hand over. And he's expecting to lose, obviously, when we get called for 300 on this river. And the opponent just kind of sits there in disgust for a moment. And he puts his hand on, he puts his cards on the table. And he shows down 8-7 suited. So this guy called us with a pair of 7s on this river. Edward said that he thinks the guy called because this guy thought he had ace-king. And I tend to agree with that assumption because I think a lot of players at 1-2 and 2-5, like whenever they try to hand read or try to put their opponent on a hand in a situation like this, like they always optimistically put their opponents on hands that they can beat. And because Edward raised pre-flop, a lot of people just automatically, he has ace-king. And I've been called down many times as well when people thought I had ace-king. People even said to me, like, I thought you had ace-king, and that's why I made the call. And so Edward also mentioned that there was one time that he had a combo draw on the turn, and he jammed, and this really tight player called him, and the river came, and he just missed everything, and he just snap-mucked his hand, and his opponent showed that he had a draw as well, but he had 7 high, and Edward had king high. And he said ever since then that he's never, ever mucked. He just faced the music. It doesn't matter. Like even if he's bluffing with 5 high or whatever, he just proudly put it on the table. You never know. You could win. And he said that hand has haunted him for years. So he said, just show your hand down. You could win. And I think getting called for 300 on this river, I probably wouldn't have felt very good with 9-8, but it was good. So very interesting hand. Let me know what you thought in the comments. All right, so we've gone over only a couple of spots from this book. Like I said, there's 100 hand histories in this book from 1-2 and 2-5. Bang for your buck. It's really good. The reason that I chose to do a video about this book is because it reminded me of the notes that I take and the details that I take. In the video description, you'll find links. It's just an ebook. It's not hardcover, paperback, or anything like that. It's just an ebook on Amazon. So definitely click the link and take a look at Edward's book. I think it's fair to say that studying hand histories and critiquing them and trying to develop our thought process, that's going to be the quickest way to get better at poker, in my opinion. You just got to be thinking about poker spots and developing your thought process and understanding and having some insight into that from somebody that's beating the games you're trying to beat is definitely helpful. So that being said, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to leave me some comments and thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Let me know if you liked the video. So I'll see you in the next one.